My front door blew open like a SWAT raid, and suddenly, I wasn't pouring coffee. I was face to face with a woman I'd never seen before, badge swinging on her chest, and an attitude that would have gotten her tossed out of most bars in Texas. If you'd asked me that morning what the odds were that my weekend would spiral into a full-blown war with an HOA I'd never joined, I'd have laughed. But life, as it turns out, doesn't give a damn about your plans. The sun was barely up, jazz low on the speaker's lake outside, calm as a photograph, and the air inside my house thick with the smell of cedar and brewing coffee. Just another Saturday. I'd set out 2 mugs, one for me, one for Jeffrey, an old friend and federal judge who could silence a courtroom with a glance. He was still in the guest room, probably reading the paper bare-legged, as he liked to joke, airing out the legal briefs. My cabin sits just outside Cypress Ridge, that gleaming HOA neighborhood, where the grass is short, the neighbors are shorter on patience, and the rules are long enough to wrap the lake twice. My place isn't part of their kingdom. I bought it 2 years back at a county auction, clean title, no encumbrances. Every paper vetted. I knew what I was doing. I never leave the door unlocked, but maybe grief fogged my brain that day. When the door swung open, I jumped, heart slamming so hard I nearly spilled the coffee. In marched this woman, mid-50s, blonde bob eyes like ice lips, pinched blouse tucked in so tight I could count the buttons. Her badge announced her as HOA president. Her tone said she thought she was the sheriff. She didn't pause or introduce herself. Just pushed past me, barking, "You owe the HOA $2,800 in unpaid dues and landscaping violations." Ignored 3 notices, now we're escalating enforcement. I was so stunned I nearly laughed. "What the hell are you talking about?" She rattled off my crimes like she'd rehearsed unapproved facade, exterior colors, unregistered structures, then whipped out a tablet and started snapping photos of my home. "My property's not part of Cypress Ridge. Never has been," I told her, voice as flat as I could manage. She didn't miss a beat. "Incorrect. Lot was annexed after last year's vote. You're now a dues-paying member." With that, she wandered deeper inside, snapping more photos like she was appraising the place. "Hey, you're trespassing." "Get out," I barked. She muttered something about streamlining lien enforcement and documenting all assets in case of seizure. Just then, Jeffrey stepped into the hallway, no robe faded, UT t-shirt, coffee in hand. "Did you just enter this home without consent or a warrant?" he asked, calm and deadly. That stopped her. "I'm Karen Wallace, HOA president," she stammered, "and I have a key." Jeffrey just tilted his head. "To a home you don't own." She floundered, claimed the key was for emergency inspections, but I cut her off. "No one has a key but me. This isn't an emergency, and if you take another photo, we'll have a real problem." Karen didn't back down. Instead, she shoved a folder into my chest. "Your signed agreement to join the HOA plus the updated zoning map." The signature wasn't mine. The map was a laugh photocopied plans with a shaky red line through my lot dated months after I'd bought the place. Jeffrey, peering over my shoulder, scoffed. "This is fraudulent." Karen lunged to grab the papers, but by then, Jeffrey had started filming on his phone. "Attempted evidence tampering and possible forgery," he said, flat as a judge reading a verdict. I pulled out my own phone. "Sheriff, I need deputies at my residence. HOA president broke into my home photographing property, tried to seize forged documents." Karen's face went white. She still didn't leave, just glared and hissed. "You're making a mistake. We're not powerless. You'll regret this." Jeffrey took a sip. "You should go. Deputies won't like finding you here with fake contracts." Finally, she backed out, heels cracking on the wood floor, slammed her Lexus door, and sped off. We watched her go, silence heavy. "This is going to be fun," I muttered. 20 minutes later, deputies rolled in. We handed them the fake documents, the videos, every scrap. Morales, the deputy, took it all seriously, promised to escalate. I felt a little lighter, but not much. Monday morning, the next attack hit a thick envelope at my gate. A lawsuit. Cypress Ridge, HOA, suing me for almost $10,000, unpaid dues. Penalties, unauthorized hostile behavior. The evidence packet. Same fake contract, bogus zoning map, and half a dozen photos Karen had taken inside my home, one zoomed in on my bourbon like it was proof of evil. Then came a letter from Code Compliance Anonymous complaint of unpermitted modifications and dangerous conditions. The nearest pedestrian was a deer. Bureaucracy is a weapon. Someone wanted me buried under paper. No prizes for guessing who. I called Mindy Alvarez, a property litigator who once dismantled an HOA so thoroughly the board dissolved itself. She didn't flinch counterclaim, trespass, fraud, defamation, mental distress, hit them back. I compiled everything: deed title survey, maps, closing statements, plat records. I asked the zoning board for a boundary audit. Let's see their fake maps stand up to GIS data. Turns out I wasn't the only target. At the county permit office, an old clerk named Wendell said I was the third person to come in with the same problem. I tracked down the other two, Elaine, a widowed teacher, and Ron, retired Navy. Both had clean titles, both blindsided by surprise annexation. Elaine had emails and strange PDFs from the HOA. Ron had even paid once before, realizing it was a scam. We pooled our evidence. Mindy started pushing for a multi-party fraud claim. Back at my place, I installed more cameras, locked. Every door kept the gate shut. 2 days later, a glossy HOA newsletter landed at my door. Local property owner threatens safety and aesthetics of community. No names, but it was me, all but bolded. Elaine texted a photo Ron called and cussed. They weren't just suing, they were smearing. That's when I decided to go public. I called Rick, a law school buddy turned legal YouTuber specialist in HOA horror stories. We filmed an interview in my kitchen, laid out Karen's break-in. The fake docs, the lawsuit, all of it. 3 days after the video went live, 500,000 views, and an explosion of comments, people all over the country sharing their own HOA nightmares. Some fined for flagpoles, some had gardens ripped up for non-compliant flora. Suddenly, I wasn't just a guy defending his home, I was a symbol. Karen's HOA tried to hold a closed-door meeting to discuss misinformation. Audio leaked Karen shrill accusing me of weaponizing YouTube. Local reporters came calling. I gave them every piece of proof, fake signatures, deeds audit requests. That's when the next twist landed. Stephen, a former HOA treasurer, emailed me, said he quit after being told to get creative with accounting. He handed me a USB of old records, years of padded vendor contracts, double-billed homeowners, and now this new push for annexing outlying lots. Then the IRS got involved. Anonymous complaint, unregistered legal business at residential property. I hadn't charged anyone since moving here, but a federal audit is no joke. Mindy was blunt. All Karen needs is a printer and a grudge. I dug deeper. Found Karen had nearly doubled her HOA salary, started a consulting LLC offering mandatory services to homeowners. She was inventing problems, then selling solutions. The harassment ramped up. Glue in my door locks, red spray paint on the fence, pay HOA or pay the price. Another police report, more cameras, alarms, motion lights. Then a drone hovered over my backyard filming. I called the sheriff himself, laid it all out, and finally a real investigator came, took my statement, and started digging. When Mindy's motion for HOA records access was granted, what we found was staggering $312,000 in fines, no documentation, rental contracts for homes the HOA didn't even own, a training video where Karen told staff perception is power, don't get hung up on plat maps, most homeowners won't push back, fraud, not just incompetence. Detectives raided the HOA office. Karen vanished. Elaine was approached by a fixer caught on her ring cam trying to bribe her to drop the case. Rick dropped a follow-up video. The community went into open revolt, neighbors posting fines, unexplained fees, even citations for car too yellow. My inbox flooded with thank yous and requests for help. One night, an anonymous email landed in my inbox. Karen's sealed arrest record from 1997, forgery and misappropriation of funds. The war was on. The day we went to court, the room was packed. The judge, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense, cut through the HOA's lawyer like a hot knife. Mindy presented everything. DGIS maps, developer affidavits, then the audit, then Karen's perception is power training video. Then Detective Chambers strode in with fresh evidence. The judge looked over her glasses. "Mrs. Wallace, do you have criminal representation?" Karen paled. When the verdict came, the judge ordered HOA records seized, dismissed every claim against me, suspended the HOA's authority, and had Karen arrested in front of everyone. Someone clapped. The news called it the fall of Cypress Ridge. But it wasn't just about me. 5 more victims came forward, some from other communities, all targeted the same way. Turns out Karen's Consulting LLC had been issuing boilerplate HOA paperwork with forged signatures targeting the vulnerable and out of state. She had a list: widows, elderly, anyone likely to fold. The HOA was put into court conservatorship, its accounts frozen. We won the civil suit, almost $500,000 in damages. They had to issue formal apologies delivered by mail, some smudged with tears. But the most powerful moment came when Elaine invited me to a cookout, just some of us liberated grilling burgers, laughing like old friends. One neighbor raised his glass to Richard Holloway, the man who told the HOA to go to hell and made them stay there. 6 months later, I hung a photo in my office, Karen wide-eyed, just as the cuffs closed around her wrists. Underneath a brass plate, "Always lock your door," or something like this, might walk in. My practice changed. I started the Fence Line Project, helping homeowners stand up to overreaching HOAs and predatory boards. With Jeffrey, Mindy, Rick, and a growing team, we built a network to fight back, one case at a time. Now, every so often, I get a letter, sometimes a thank you, sometimes a confession from someone who voted wrong without knowing. I keep a $20 bill taped to my desk, sent by a former board member with the note, "For the fight." I sit on my porch lake out front, camera on the gate. Locks changed, the line between my land and theirs printed, signed, recorded in triplicate. They won't cross it again. And if they try, well, I'm not the man I was before all this began. So where's the line between order and control, justice and revenge? When does a community become a cage? I'd love to hear your story, your take. Drop a comment below. If you've got your own run-in with a clipboard warrior, let's hear it, because the only way to stop this nonsense is to shine a little light on it, one neighbor at a time. ChatGPT